Man, I will tell you, it is really great to be back here in Arizona.
Wait, what are you talking about? It's great to be back in Arizona. Last I heard, you're lucky to be back in Arizona. From what I heard, you just big-timed everybody. You straight up faved everyone. You were complete
Bible!
No one enjoyed your match. It was over like a lead balloon. You were terrible. You stunk it up. It's a miracle you're back. And the whole manager cutting me off thing was just not cool. Like, what the
Bible! JV, if you're gonna burn someone, just remember, less is more.
What? You
Bible!
Tenacious time podcast. It's Tenacious time podcast. Oh, grab your friends if you have any and come and have a great time with your host, Ricky Tenacious.
Bible! Hello, hi, how are you? Welcome to the Tenacious Time podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the current longest reigning, most defending, youngest ever Big Valley Wrestling fighting champion coming at you with another awesome podcast. I know you all love the sound of my voice. So today's podcast, we have a really cool guest. He is a local to Arizona. He does a lot of cool stuff there. He's a good friend of mine. He is the choice voice who makes all the ladies moist. He didn't pay me to say that at all. I'm not sure if that's true. I don't even know if I want to find out. Anyway, my guest for this podcast, Joe Vernola.
Hi there. You know, it feels like I've been in the Tenacious studio at least the last 6-7 months now, but I've never been in the Tenacious studio, and let me say, it is just brimming with opulence. Opulent with a capital, opulent, however.
It's so luxurious, he has to use long, big words no one knows the definition of. But that's okay, because that's a good thing.
Look it up. Educate yourselves.
We do have Google.
You guys have Google. I mean, here in Las Vegas, it's like 49th in the nation in education. Arizona, it's like 50th. So I'm trying to educate the masses here in the Southwest.
What was that word again?
Opulence.
Opulence? Can you spell that?
It.
Can you spell that out for us, please?
Opulent. 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 Opulence is the quality of being opulent, although you're not supposed to use the word you're defining in the definition, but it's alright.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Ricky Tenacious's recording studio is the most opulent building I have ever been in.
Can you use it in a promo?
I could probably use it in a promo. Opulence. I have it. I'm the most opulent man in all of the Southwest. You look at me, you say, damn, that is an opulent man. He has an opulent voice. Everything about him exudes opulence.
I love it. I love you. You're great. I don't know why you haven't gotten the big push you deserve.
That was only about a 15-second promo. That's why I can't hit 30 seconds.
Hey, sometimes, it's better. Well, oh, wait. I mean, yeah, it is true. You probably can't hit 30 seconds. 15. Just be glad you can get to 15, okay?
I walked right into that one, ladies and gentlemen.
You did. The door has closed. Anyway, so thank you all for joining us today. Again, thank you very much. You know how much I love you guys that actually take time to listen to my podcast, me sit down with people and talk about stupid shit. Anyway, so JV, I know I called him Joe Vernola, but we're gonna call him JV.
That's what everyone calls me. So
yeah, junior varsity.
Yeah. You sure you didn't talk to Delight before this?
Anyway, so JV, tell us before we get into our questions today, exactly. I guess I said we and you are pretty good friends in the wrestling business, but what is it you actually do in the business? Like, what is your role?
I am a ring announcer. That's probably the role most people know me in. Championship Wrestling from Arizona. I will be joining Championship Wrestling from Hollywood here in the very near future. will have joined by the time people hear this, I'm assuming. I ring announce at Unleashed Wrestling. I do whatever the hell Brandon tells me to do at Party Hard. That's been a different thing each show though. So, but it's I am a man of many hats. I guess I have done a lot of behind the scenes stuff at PHX Wrestling, even though I'm not doing anything on camera there. Oh man,
I love it very much.
I've refereed. I've been a manager. I've even had a couple matches.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And how did those work out?
They worked out all right. I was in a battle royal at Brian Kendrick's Wrestling Pro Wrestling at one point. Got called the sandbagging fuck by a Broseph Joe Brody, which is probably the highlight. Was in a tag team match with Ryan Morals against Lawrence Tyler and Tumaguchi at Lucha Libre Por. I got the pin in that one, yeah.
Is that how you hit on girls? It's I was in a tag team match. I got the pin.
No, actually, what I do to hit on girls is the gear I was wearing for that. I figured if I was going to do this, I'm going to have actual tights, and I got shoes and everything. Because I have actually trained a little bit, slightly, but
he's got a few classes under his belt,
just to make sure I don't kill myself. But so the gear I was wearing was especially tight, and I've basically got a full-blown moose knuckle going the whole time. The boys at the Lucha show still
rib me about that.
Yeah, they cup the balls an awful lot when I see them.
That's funny, man. Speaking of no, I was gonna say PHX. I was there for that one, but this weekend in particular, for those who follow me on Facebook, you guys know Party Hard Wrestling. Friday night I was in Party Hard Wrestling, and then Saturday Unleashed Wrestling, Sunday Big Valley Wrestling's Battle for Las Vegas. Good old 3-day wrestling weekend.
Good 3-day swing, yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
You got a "That's Tenacious" chant when you were in the ring. I don't know if you heard it or not.
I didn't. Who said that?
There were some people saying "That's Tenacious."
Who said that?
I refuse to answer.
All right, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't do anything at Party Hard. Well, I did, but I didn't wrestle as I usually would. In the business, you kind of got to work your way up to that position, and depending on how bad you want to wrestle there, you got to pay your dues because you never stop doing that. And even if it's security or if it's doing the music, helping out whatever we can to the show.
Yep, exactly. And just get there. Hey, can you do this? Yeah, I can do that.
I can do that. I'll be the best damn music man you've ever seen.
Can you speak Italian? Yes, I can. And then you figure out how you're going to speak Italian later.
Party Hard Wrestling was a really fun time, really good experience, really cool people there. Owen Travers wrestled there. We have a student from Big Valley Wrestling who came up with us. He was really cool. He's learning the business every day. Really good time. I really hope I end up wrestling there sometime soon. But anyway, on to my next question. For you, Joe, because you are the guest. You've reffed, you've done music, you do the announcing, do a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But let's go back to the origins of JV. How did you get into the business of professional wrestling?
Oh, this is kind of a funny story. It was something I kind of always wanted to do, but we gotta go back to, I think it was 2008. I won a radio contest with through Paulie Cover. I won that was actually some TNA tickets. So through that, Paulie and I actually got along and figured we had some things in common. And
for those who don't know, Paulie Cover is the current commissioner for Future Stars of Wrestling, also the host of the radio station X107.5.
PK Over. Yes. So he won tickets to a TNA show at the Hard Rock through him, which was actually their first HD taping. Paulie and I wound up staying in touch after that, becoming friends. FSW reached out to him at some point about starting to work their shows. Paulie, in turn, told me to come check the shows out, and I see a guy in a match, in a tag team match about halfway through the show, by the name of Sugar Brown.
Downtown Sugar Brown.
Yes, he was Downtown Sugar Brown at the time. Yeah, the whole he was tagging with Cutler at the time.
Yep.
So it was Downtown Vegas.
Yeah, dude.
Great.
Yeah, I remember those days. Even before I started working for FSW, I was actually at their first show because I was a huge wrestling fan. I mean, almost every wrestler is, and
right.
I remember going to their first show in the back of that indoor swap meet, the first show at the Silver Nugget, their first show at their studio on Boulder Highway, seeing all those guys, and then fast forwarding now to like what they're doing now, and lots of good talent at FSW in Vegas in general.
Yeah.
Also in Arizona, sitting next to one of the best ones right now.
Well, he's actually behind you, but...
Okay, for those who know, Owen Travers still hasn't left my studio. He's sleeping.
Owen sleeps wherever he can, whenever he can.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I'm not going to bore anyone with semantics or details or anything like that, but Sugar Brown and I have a little bit of a history going back at least a decade at that point. And this was 2008, so I've known the guy probably 15 years at that point. And so it was one of those things like, well, okay, if he can get in and Paulie's in, who do I have to talk to get in? He had me talk to Joe, and then from that, it went on. I think 3 days later, I was back at FSW, and they were already trying to come up with a name, because we figured my last name was unique enough that I didn't need to change that. And then Delight being delightful, for lack of a better term, if he's just going to be interviewing students and lower guys, he'll be junior varsity. And so, yeah, that fucking asshole.
We love you, Mike. We love you so much. He's doing good things at Monster Factory.
He loves you. I no. You know how I feel, Mike.
Yeah, the first time I met JV was at BVW. You came down with Hammerstone and Graves, I think.
Yeah, I did come down with Hammerstone and Graves. I think we had done Utah that weekend too. That was not the best of weekends, but that was mostly my fault, and we don't have to get into that.
All right, that's a completely different podcast, as we like to say.
Yeah.
And so you were trying to get acquainted with people, and I believe you met my dad and the booker, and I remember seeing you were the guy with the stash. You had a really nicely groomed mustache, I remember.
Let's not talk about my mustache.
Yeah. And I remember you wanted to try to get into BVW, and I guess that just never came to or something. I think it was partly my fault because I just didn't get back to you in time, or
it was all kinds of things. Some of it was on my end. Some of it was, and some of it was with on other people's ends. It was a lot of miscommunication and some other stuff, and it was It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was just something else.
Yeah, probably something best off air.
But I bring that up because I remember I saw you announcing at FSW.
Yeah.
And I saw you announcing, and I never got to tell you, but goddamn, you did some really good announcing. Like, your voice was really good on the mic. So I saw him, I was like, shit, man, he's really good. I never knew, like, he had that potential. I should have, like, gotten back to him. But, I mean, that was fine because I came to Arizona, and we...
Right.
high-fived, and you did your thing, I did my thing, and now we're here doing a podcast.
Yeah, dude, business is business, and I mean, I wasn't even trying to get the announcer spot at PV Dub at the time because you guys had Bruce, and Bruce has a great set of pipes, so...
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does. I never even knew I had a great set of pipes. Or that's what people tell me. And then I was just like, all right, I guess I'll blow the pipes whenever I can. All right, so... Next question. Now that we know a little bit about you, where you started and all, where do you hope to go in wrestling? Like, is wrestling kind of just a hobby for you that you're just glad to be in, or is it something you'd actually like to pursue as a career one day?
I wouldn't say it's a hobby, and there are a few things I do within it that I can actually not be too hard off or anything. I'd like to think it's pretty comfortable, but
Owen, stop snoring. Yeah.
Excuse me. It just it's I don't have like delusions that I'm totally definitely gonna make it to like some big time. But there are definitely ways that I can make a very comfortable living off it while doing a couple other things like I have been doing. And it's more or less, I can say it's my source of income. So already kind of a career. It's not a lavish source of income by any means, but it's helping me pay the bills.
A lot of people can't really say that wrestling helps them pay the bills. For most people, wrestling is just a little, whatever they get from wrestling is just a little thank you, just
right,
whatever it may be.
And I mean, I'm still getting some of those small thank yous and everything, but there are other avenues and venues that I'm making a pretty decent chunk of change from it. When I'm doing a lot of back-of-house stuff, especially depending on how big a role I have in that back-of-house stuff, I make a pretty good chunk of change off that. Video production is also a pretty good way to... but yeah, that's all just wearing a lot of hats, using what I learned in school, kids. Message! Going off on a little bit of a tangent there, I apologize, but it's
okay, man. We got these cheeseburgers, man.
Right. But it's I'd like to think I'm already making somewhat of a living off professional wrestling, which, like you said, a lot of people can't really say entirely, and maybe it's not the smartest decision for me to be saying. It's for me to be making either, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I'm happy. So
speaking of all the hats you wear, a few months ago I helped out at the debut show for PHX Wrestling in Phoenix, Arizona, and I understand you did a lot of I guess I could say background work or behind the scenes work, I should say.
Yeah, my card from them says executive producer, but that seems to be a bit of a slight to other executive producers that have full-blown TV and stuff, but I was very much in concert with the promoter booker the whole time. I would help book some of the guys. I would help a little bit creatively. And then basically I was the director for both shows, and then we're supposed to be coming back here in the spring pretty soon, and I'll continue in my show running role there. So
awesome, man. Can you before we get to one of the segments on our show we have here, because I remember I was there and you looked so busy and you looked so concerned with everything and making sure everything goes good. And I've kind of been in that position before, helping out with BVW. I know how hard it can be, trying to negotiate with guys and trying to make sure everything stays okay and making sure the fans are all right. And just as security, there were some conflicts that came up. And luckily, from some things I learned from school is problem solving, so that definitely tied in very well. So if you can, just kind of give us what it's like from your perspective being called an executive producer for a show, and how the struggles there are with that and the rewards you also get from that.
This one is kind of a double-edged sword, but you'd be able to relate to it. It's your name on it. Even though I'm not doing anything on camera, people know that even though it's not my show, it's my show. So it's got my name on it. They see me running all over the place. I think you were working the one that there was the VIP issue, right?
Yes.
Where the venue just decided that they were going to let everyone in as opposed to the VIP ticket holders.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a blanket right here for him if anything.
Oh, okay. Just to cover up the part that matters the most.
Why are you smothering Owen Travers, Ricky?
Hey, no, it's okay. Owen Travers gets smothered enough.
He can't breathe.
Maybe that's the best thing. Okay, so as you were saying,
it's your name on it. And I would like to think that I work just as hard at nearly any other show that I work on, or at least have that same level of concern, because I'm kind of a high-strung dude if you haven't figured that out. But yeah, it was so going back to the VIP issue, that was something that had been discussed way ahead of time, was above my pay grade and not something I was going to deal with. And then here we are at the show. I'm the only one anyone can find, and that's because other people were off doing other things. That's
other people's stuff.
Yeah, other people's stuff, and they were doing important things. But I was the one they could find, so here I am being the one to handle it, and it's kind of
that's a good thing you bring up, especially when running any type of show. That's a good label, and also kind of a hard one to take, is you're the guy that people go to. Mm-hmm. You are the guy that people see is in charge, so you're the guy that's going to answer all of their questions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know from experience, and I do know too, it's one of the worst experiences when people are asking you all of these questions all of the time. And you try to give them the best answers you can, but some of them you don't even know the answers to.
Right.
And you're still concerned with this question and this and that and this problem that was brought up and this one, and especially the day of the show, it's it's something else. And by the way, we're not talking down about PHX Wrestling or any promotion we work for. We're just talking about the daily struggles directors, executive producers, wrestlers, referees go through in the business, because in any professional wrestling show, it's still a show. There are still multiple people involved working to make what you see happen and making sure it goes off without a hitch.
Not having that's a great way to put it, but for me, not having an answer to what is an important question is probably, to me, one of the worst things I would have to deal with, because it makes me feel, I guess inadequate would be the only thing to say, because it's just, well, here I am, why don't I know the answer to it? And I know full well I don't know why I don't know the answer to it, because I didn't want to handle any of those answers. But I was there, but neither here nor there. It just gets annoying because you want to make sure that part runs off smoothly without a hitch, and meanwhile, I'm still trying to figure out how to make up 45 minutes of show prep that I just lost.
Yeah.
So...
Interesting stuff, man. So now we get to one of the segments of the Tenacious Time podcast. We don't have a bunch of time today, so we're only going to do one segment. It's one we do every show. This is the 60-second challenge. So you're going to have 60 seconds to the best of your ability, complete a challenge I'm going to give you. So the challenge is you're going to have 60 seconds. Actually, I can't tell you yet because then you'll start thinking of stuff. This has to be more off the bat. So I'm going to give him a question pretty much that requires multiple answers, and he's going to try to give me as many answers as he can within 60 seconds. Most people who play this end up cheating in some way, shape, or form, and if I feel that you're cheating, I will cut you off and you will lose. And you'll never even know what the prize is. So here we go.
How can you cheat?
60-second challenge. You have 60 seconds to name as many professional wrestling promotions in the United States as you can.
WWE, ROH...
Hold on, we haven't started yet. Okay, now your time starts.
WWE, ROH, FSW, AWF, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship from Arizona, CZ Dub, FIP, what the hell is the one Luke Hawk says? Wildcat, Reality of Wrestling, West Coast Wrestling Connection, BVW. I think I already said that. That's twice. UCW, High Impact in Tucson. Santino Brothers, Wrestling Pro Wrestling, Hood Slam, SPW, APW. There's DOA. No, that one is in Vancouver.
10 seconds.
Gold Rush, Vendetta,
and time's up.
Damn.
You got about, I think you got 22 in 60 seconds. That's pretty good.
One every 3 seconds, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I if I was in your position, I probably would have just took like random like verbs or pronouns or nouns in general, or just any word, and then put wrestling behind it.
I didn't want someone to listen and then like come back and call bullshit on me for it. That's why I was trying to give
They
names.
call in live to the show. Excuse me, but this motherfucker is not playing the game correctly. And we don't stand for that here on the Tenacious Time podcast. But, I mean, you did pretty good. You're not like Owen Travers, who I asked to list video games and he just gets it off the internet. Didn't even notice.
I didn't. You said...
So next question, and so we are almost out of time, so we got to go to our last question of the podcast. This is a question, the golden question I ask every guest I have on this podcast. So applying to wrestling, of course, Joe, what has been a really good day on the job, and what has been a really bad day on the job?
A really good day on the job is getting to hang out with the boys, not botching in whatever it is I'm doing that night or day or afternoon. If there's a nice long drive involved, that's usually pretty cool too. I don't know if I've had many bad days in wrestling. I've beaten myself up over a couple botches, but I think the one bad day in wrestling I've had is I was shadowing a Hall of Famer, and at one point I thought that gentleman was going to die on me, and I would have taken full responsibility for it. And at the time, it was a very, very bad day that I can look back and laugh at now, and will probably never ever bring up with that person because I'm just too much of a
Bible. All right, well there you have it. Pretty good time. Well, I'm sorry we don't have. I know usually my podcast is a little bit longer, but we're kind of strained for time because we are wrestlers having to do wrestler things eventually. JV, this podcast has been a long time coming. Ever since we met, I knew one day. I think that was before I did the podcast, and I was like, one day when I do my podcast, he's gonna be on it. That's kind of how like when I meet people, especially if they're really cool to me or like just cool in general, like. That guy's gonna be on my podcast. That girl's gonna be on my podcast. I swear, it's gonna happen one way or the other. I'm gonna show up like late at night and set up my mic and computer or whatever, and then just wake them up. All right, you're on the podcast. Hello, hi, how are you?
Nice.
Let's go. Any closing statements before we get out of here?
Christmas album coming out this year, I guess.
Check
it. Coming after Thanksgiving.
The whitest Christmas album.
Bow, bow, bow,
Bow, bow, bow, bow, bow, bow, bow,
All right, that's all they get for the Christmas album.
And that's Tenacious.